Welcome back. Well, the case involving former President Jacob Zuma and French arms company Thales has adjourned in Pietermaritzburg for the latest. Let's get Ayanda Mhlongo, who's coming to us live from the KwaZulu-Natal High Court in Pietermaritzburg. Ayanda, thank you very much indeed for your time. So we heard about the state saying that there's a consistent pattern of litigation designed to ultimately delay the process, and both Mr. Zuma as well as Thales cited that the long delays has prejudiced them. So delays being the buzzword, what were some of your biggest takeaways?
Yes, Blaine, thanks very much, and good morning to our viewers once again. We earlier on, having spoken to and getting legal analysis from Advocate Mbonani, Blaine, earlier on, we knew that one of the arguments or the submissions that were going to be made by the state was, of course, on the issue around the delays, as both the defense teams, both Zuma and Thales, had spent a lot of time on the delays and largely blaming the NPA for those delays, and saying, while particularly Thales, who said that while before 2009 they too may have been party to those delays, but there was about a 9-year period where they felt that it was the state that was responsible, and that the state had during those years an opportunity to go to trial, but at the time, due to reasons which the defense was saying that were not clear to them, that those cases, the case did not go to trial. But another point that was mentioned by, or an argument that was put forth by Advocate Trent was that there was not a shred of evidence to support the contention that there was a political interference. And of course, we know that from on Monday, the Jacob Zuma defense said that there had been a political interference, thus them even bringing in the matters around the spy tapes and quoting conversations between the NPA bosses at the time, and said that there was even discussions between the NPA, the Scorpion head at the time, as well as leaders, representatives of government at the time, to support their argument of a political interference. We know that the state, on the side of Thales, Blaine, have also mentioned the fact that they were dishonest and accused them of dishonest misconduct to try and avoid a trial. The other point, and as you're speaking about the consistent pattern of litigation, saying that in 13 years and 4 months, there's been several cases or litigation by the former president which he lost, and going as far as to say that this has cost the state between 16 and 32 million rand. And in fact, Advocate Trent saying that this was a luxurious litigation. But to talk to us more and help us understand and unpack what the submissions so far from the state have been, I'm joined once again by Advocate Mbonani. Advocate, thanks very much for joining us once again. You unpacked it for us earlier this morning on what we can expect from the submissions that would be made by the state. First of all, as Advocate Trent began making his submissions, going straight into the fact that they too are saying the former president cannot say that the blame of the lengthy delays in this trial can solely be placed on the NPA.
Yes, well, Ayanda, today's we expected that the submissions of the states would be that they are not solely to blame for the delay. So the main submission from the states is that the delay was systematic. That is to say, it was out of the hands of the states. You have to take into consideration that there was the wrongful decision made to discontinue the prosecution, and that there were all these interlocutory applications that were made by the former president which contributed to the delay. And the submission is that he cannot now say that the trial is going to be unfair because he was party to the litigation, continued litigation from the time that it began to where we are right now. And you found there the judges asking whether the state is submitting that he was not entitled to make those applications. And while he was, they're saying that he cannot say that he was not at all partly to blame for the delays.
The other matter is, and it was raised by the Zuma defense, with bringing in the now infamous spy tapes and the decision by the Supreme Court of Appeal. We heard today Advocate Trengrove trying to explain that matter relating to the evidence being brought by the Zuma defense team.
Well, yes, the spy tapes came up in the argument that while the spy tapes may feature into the grand picture of the case, they are not relevant because the decision has already been made by the Supreme Court of Appeal that their consideration into whether or not to discontinue prosecution was necessary, and it was found that it was irrational. So the submission from the state is that that does show that there was a feeling of that there was no integrity from the NPA, but that it shouldn't feature as a consideration when making a decision whether or not to prosecute.
Off air, you and us were discussing this balance that the court needs to find, the accused's right to a fair trial, but also balance that in the interest of justice. And Advocate Trengrove was trying to explain that while yes, the accused, in this case Mr. Zuma and Thales, they have this right to the fair trial. But before we went to the break, he was also speaking about corruption and the interest of justice, and how important it is for the state to explain the seriousness of corruption.
Well, yes, you remember that there has to be this balance between the rights of the accused and the interests of justice. And having started laying out that from the beginning, the submission is that there is no unfairness, there is no prejudice to the accused, and that the consideration of their rights shouldn't outweigh those of justice right now. And then moving on to the second part, that the interests of justice demand that because public funds have been squandered and that corruption, racketeering and money laundering, especially so many counts, 783, the court has to make a decision that is going to be equitable. And at this point, the rights of the accused and the interests of justice put on a scale, the interests of justice weigh more. And that is why the court should find, according to the submissions of the state, that this application should be dismissed.
Take us through. We come back from the break now. Advocate Trengrove is likely to continue. You were telling us that in terms of the time, are we looking at later on this afternoon? And once he's done, what can we then expect? The defense then will then get an opportunity to respond to the state submissions.
Yes, that is correct. We expect that the state will now move towards concluding their answer from everything that was submitted by the applicants. And after that, both counsel for the former president and Thales are going to be given an opportunity to reply. And in their replies, they must only deal with what has come up in the answer and cannot bring new arguments to that. So we expect that because the issue of striking out, there was a consent order to that. We can expect that their replies are going to be short. So we are looking at the application possibly ending today, depending on how long the state takes to conclude its case.
All right, Advocate, thanks very much. Advocate Makhosazana Mbonani, they're playing, just helping us through an analysis of what the submissions that have been made this morning by Advocate Trengrove for the state. So it's a 15-minute break, now tea break. They should be back after that for Advocate Trengrove to continue with his submissions. And while let's break inside court. Outside the court, just looking around, Blaine, still very quiet. We were expecting, having spoken to the supporters of the former president, that by now there would be more people that have come out. It doesn't seem so at the moment. We only see some of the vendors who are selling party regalia that are here. The stage is set though, but just a handful of people have gathered outside the Pietermaritzburg High Court. But of course we are here, Blaine, and we will be continuing to monitor what is happening inside and as well as what is happening outside.
No doubt you will. Thank you very much indeed for your reporting as always. Ayanda Mhlongo live for us in Pietermaritzburg. We're going to take a quick